Belle équipe ça, équipe injury là groupe là, il y a des années depuis la des gens qui ont injury, gens qui fait accident avec un pile cas assurance. Nous aidons les gens à faire des millions de dollars. Des millions de dollars, oui, clients nous fait. Nous avons plus que 35 ans d'expérience. Tendez ça, nous ne pouvons pas charger $1 si vous n'avez pas une caisse là. Relez nous aujourd'hui pour consultation gratis. Dans 866 945 47 68. Pour faire accident machine, ou frapper dans le travail, ou t'as le docteur ou bien l'hôpital, il va te faire travailler bien, il te fait mauvais pratique. Ou glisser, ou tomber, ou gros blessure, ou prendre une gros catastrophe. Ou que famille, amis, le docteur, il va le mauvais remède qui cause de mourir parce que tu as le mauvais soin. Il fait discrimination contre nous, qui aidons avec tout problème ça. C'est juste que nous dans 866 945 47 68. Bon, dis pas tracasser tête tout, puisque nous parlons plusieurs langues. Nous parlons espagnol, nous parlons créole. Un jour, dans le groupe, office principal, nous dans Boca Raton, dans Florida. Regardez, depuis après l'avocat, nous voulons laisser nous rele.
Bonsoir.
Hey, bonsoir, comment est?
Doing well. How about you? Come away.
Good.
I got to learn how to say doing well.
Yeah. Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Yeah. So, nous là, n'a dit mon yo bonsoir tout le monde. Et nous là pour un autre show encore. Et nous paraît dans moi ça là tout frais, tout limé. So, nous avec mon yo pour un autre show encore aujourd'hui. N'a dit tout le monde yo et moi-même c'est Claude Jean-Baptiste, moi son paralego dans Your Injury Law Group, ensemble avec Grup qui c'est un avocat nous gagne dans Your Injury Law Group. Nous là chaque lundi soir pour 6h pour 6h30 ensemble avec mon yo. Nous avons 30 minutes pour nous faire un petit parler avec mon yo pour nous connaître. Grup là information générale, c'est pas bagay spécifique sur la loi. Comme c'est monsieur qui gagne droit qui maton a fait la loi, moi-même babay le conseil légal, c'est Grup qui là même les sont paralégaux mais pas conseil légal et tout le monde connaît ça là ils sont paralégaux et ou pas qu'à bail conseil légal. So et Grup qui là qui pour bail tout conseil légal yo n'a présenté mon yo. Robert, how you doing?
I'm well, and I think you took away a lot of some of the things I normally talk about at the beginning, just who I am and things. My name is Rob Trilling, and as you said, I'm from Your Injury Law Group. We're here to answer questions. If you have a legal question about accidents, injuries, insurance, any type of issue regarding injury claims, feel free to give us a call here, or you can reach us at our office at 866 945 47 68.
Yeah, so n'a dit mon yo, nous là pour nous répondre question générale yo, j'aime dire nous moi pas bail et conseil légal, tout conseil légal yo c'est pour Robert yo. Robert là les son qui remet communauté haïtienne, ça travaille dans communauté à longtemps. So c'est bien plus passé qu'on y a forme c'est dans 40 ans depuis la travail dans communauté depuis là c'est jeune avocat c'est dans communauté haïtienne c'est débuté. C'est ça fait qu'on nous kawem c'est comprendre créole très bien et même c'est parler créole. N'a dit mon yo si jamais nous pas souhaiter ça arriver ou si jamais on a un problème fait accident machine tomber dans travail il y a non store yo glisser ou tomber bien il y a machine dans l'arrière là n'importe bail grivé yo sous motocyclette machine frappé yo bicyclette machine frappé yo n'a dit mon yo pas hésiter relé Your Injury Law Group 866 945 47 68 et nous venons avec un nouveau service pour mon yo nous faire immigration tout qu'on y a. So ça veut dire mon yo depuis entrer dans Your Injury Law Group y a besoin tout à fait ou pas gain sorti de pour entrer dedans ou a besoin service quand même.
I think one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight was some of the things that we get a lot of like kind of surprise looks from some of our clients about some of the things that we handle for them.
Yeah.
So I think it just wanted to go over a little bit about some of the things that we do at Your Injury Law Group that I think kind of sets us apart a little bit from what other lawyers or other law firms are doing. And
parce que nous-mêmes nous faisons ça nous fait nous garder qui ça tout l'autre avocat au fait dans la communauté nous-mêmes nous font bagages différents nous baillons l'autre service différent parce que et service nous baillons nous-mêmes monde n'a gain possibilité pour parler à n'importe l'élevé c'est pas un monde qui parle l'avocat le bagage un avocat dans téléphone son avocat au carré dans téléphone ou parler ensemble avec elle quel que soit si détail qui dans caisse là nous les clients nous mettez le courant de tout ça qu'a fait dans caisse là ou là le balance avec nous avec expliquer nous comment service nous est différent de l'autre service et l'autre monde yo bail.
You know, when we started setting up Your Injury Law Group, one of the things that I wanted to do is really focus on you, the client, and that's why it's called Your Injury Law Group. So we wanted to set up some things that would make us where people would want us to be their attorneys. What is it that we do differently that I think that would set us apart? And that was sort of where we started with this whole premise.
Yeah, c'est ça que fait nous te faire promesse à nous les compagnies yo enjoy leur groupe. Ça veut dire nous te voulons focus sur mon yo seulement. C'est leur groupe là c'est leur groupe polier, ou carré ou poser question lovely, ou ka chita prendre rendez-vous avec avocat parler ensemble avec lovely. Majorité là au monde yo pas ensemble avec moi même c'est et me là seulement pour me faire travail pour me faire nous venons radio à la faire émission but majorité les clients relé yo gen contact ensemble avec Grup directement c'est pas un avocat pour le jeune c'est assistant qui parle ensemble avec ou parler avec directement poser question quelle que soit la question d'ailleurs pour poser là.
When we talk to people about what their experiences were with their attorneys, historically what we always find is that the number one complaint seems to be that people have a very difficult time finding out what's happening with their case or talking to the attorney and finding out what their position is on, what's going on.
Yes, ça l'en parle avec mon yo et complaint numéro 1 mon yo gen yo toujours gen difficulté là au prend avocat yo pas compte ça qui passer dans case là so avocat des fois yo pas parler avec mon yo pour et faire comment connaît comment case là comment case là marcher. So nous fongeons, nous retirer tête nous en position ça, nous mettre mon yo face à face avec avocat et gen moun qui gen téléphone même téléphone direct avocat pour yo rele n'importe les ouvre. Majorité client pas même parler avec même yo parler avec avocat directement.
So it's always been one of our hallmarks that everybody in our office, they answer their own calls. If for example, if I don't answer my call, it's because I'm in a hearing or in a meeting or something like that. But otherwise, if I'm available, we're answering our calls. That's one of the first things that I made sure of everybody in our office. They have to answer their phones.
Yeah, c'est pas un bagage où j'aimerais pouvoir pas répondre téléphone. Soit me pas répondre téléphone konen non hearing ou bien li nan côte. Après ça, sous quitter message, me après les numéros quand même parce que nos bon système quel que soit monde qui relé numéro mon apparaît dans téléphone là ou après les mon back quand même.
And one of the other things I think is real important is to make sure that the client knows what's going on with their case. So one of the things that I like to say is whether the news is good or bad, I want to make sure the client knows about it right away.
Yeah,
it's usually good, but sometimes it's not. But we always want to.
Quelle que soit nouvelle là bon bien là bon, il est vraiment important pour client qu'on ait exactement ça qui va passer dans case là. C'est ça que fait nous même nous là c'est pour client. Le groupe là c'est pour client lié, pas pour nous, son bail nous fait pour communauté là. Si ça fait nous involve dans tout ça qu'a fait dans la communauté ou après yo enjoy leur groupe sponsorisant on équipe bagaille positif qu'a fait dans la communauté à nous mettre à tout le monde dans la communauté pour nous foncer là mon spécialement moi même et nous connaît des fois communauté haïtienne là et mon yo pas représenter le bien so et ça fait nous vers le groupe ça moi même étant que haïtien là ensemble avec monsieur pour haïtien joindre service yo da supposé joindre.
And one of the other things is to make sure that we're involved in all of the aspects of the case. Like, for example, when people get involved when they hire us, we handle the insurance companies for them. So they don't have to necessarily deal with the insurance companies unless we tell them it's necessary.
Yeah, des fois, des pour mon yo prend monsieur premier monsieur fait affaire pour aller parler avec assurance là. Il pas quitter mon yo faire ça lien do ça pour mon yo, ça vraiment important parce que mon assurance ça yo gain expérience dans ces affaires et yo connaît ces affaires tout. Des fois il y a des bails où ka dit li ka déranger que ça va faire les gens des bails sont présentés c'est li qui pas quitter mon yo faire logon qui sous pote ba non ou va faire là dans encore depuis nous fin signer que ça nous te couvert tout bail pour machine ou ranger sous besoin rento nous fait tout bagage ça pour net.
Because I always figured a couple of things that people really want from their attorney. Number one is they want to get great results. That's the number one thing that everybody wants.
Yeah, parce que bah numéro 1 mon yo besoin les au point avocat c'est bon résultat et bon résultat et la kay non chita nous beaucoup jamais jeune monde qui pas satisfait avec service non bayo.
And while I can't promise, the great results we've gotten for clients, I can't promise that for everybody. Everybody's case is unique and your results are going to be maybe different than what other people experience. But it's real important in my mind that because we're involved in every step of the way and we've got the experience that we have, it's real important because I think we get great results as a result. Traditionally, we get really good results as a result of it.
Yeah, c'est nous jeune bon résultat pour mon yo. Ça va veut dire résultat l'autre monde jeune c'est même résultat ça on jeune tout parce que chaque question différent mais nous font moyen pour tout le monde satisfait et me garantis ou va faire gens pour satisfaire mon yo quand même.
And one of the other things that makes that possible is that we have, for my example, for myself, I've been practicing law for over 35 years, as you always like to ask,
Yeah.
So I've got lots and lots of experience, and I think, because we take cases all the way through trial if necessary, because we're not afraid to do that, and I personally love doing that, that because of that, we get good results all along the way. Because if you're not ready to take a case to trial, you're not going to get in my opinion, you're not going to get the great results that the case, really deserves or should get.
Yeah, parce que wobli même ça, monsieur Remen fait, et si son avocat, yo pas vle mener case à dans tribunal, monsieur résultat a supposé jeune nous a bien difficulté pour jeune. Wobli même c'est ça Remen fait, monsieur mener case à juste dans tribunal, et pas n'équipe à dans tribunal. Au contraire, moi monsieur dans tribunal double.
Now, the great news is most cases don't go to trial, as everybody knows. But it's important that we are ready to go to trial. I just tried a case last week successfully, and it's personally I love it. Yeah. That's not to say I'm trying to push a case to trial. I want to get the case what it deserves, and that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, c'est son négli enjoy à dans tribunal et ça fait monsieur toujours make sure question à dans jugement. C'est parce que monsieur remet ça et c'est pas toute caisse livrée mener dans tribunal. But les cases sont en position pour le mener dans le tribunal, là, je suis content pour le faire.
And we've built a whole practice based around that. I mean, everybody that's involved, we have people involved. For example, we have a workers' compensation division, where the workers' compensation division has been together for years and has had great experience for years. Now we've expanded to immigration. We have the same situation where we have a division devoted exclusively for immigration for people from an attorney that has years of experience with success.
Yeah.
So that's where I always like to hire people with success, with lots of experience.
Yeah, parce que avocat nous avons pile expérience et tout et nous avons avocat immigration là, monsieur pas parler créole, j'aime parler créole là, but monsieur comprendre créole et monsieur parler petit créole tout. So ça veut dire monsieur grand pile expérience, monsieur gain longtemps la faire ça la faire. So haïtien va faire comme si c'est là caillou et ça fait n'a dit mon yo pas hésiter les nous dans 866 945 47 68 et si jamais gon monde qui t'a gon question pendant nos radio là, yo ka relé nous dans 561 576 1600 561 576 1600.
We also get a lot of questions about what to do after an accident. There's a lot of specific questions that people have about what to do in their particular case. And I always say, give us a call at our office. And of course, I'll answer as many as I can on the air, but give us a call at our office at 866 945 4768. And, we'll be able to help you and see what we can do to make sure that your case is well protected and well preserved.
Relé nous dans office là dans 866 945 47 68 et nous mon yo ka passer dans office là tout n'a dit mon yo nous prend question dans toute Florida net quel que soit côté dans Florida nous prend question et yo ka toujours relé nous dans 866 945 47 68.
One of the things that I always like to say is that when we're dealing with clients is I always like to make sure that they're we talked about getting their questions answered. When we're dealing with the insurance companies, there's so many different aspects of a case that we have to deal with insurance companies on, or that people deal with them on, that I think it's so important to have an attorney representing you, someone with experience is representing you when you're dealing with an insurance company.
Yes, c'est ça fait vraiment important pour un monde qui a expérience. Représenter ou l'abdil avec assurance compagnie ou parce que assurance compagnie même si ça yo fait yo charger et adjuster au grand pile expérience ça fait li bon pour un monde qui gagne expérience qui pour aider.
Issues come up all the time from everything from like who do I go after, which insurance company am I talking to get my car repaired, for example.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as that. It's not such a simple question. There's always some complications or things to consider in making a good decision about where you should be going to get your car repaired.
Yeah, c'est ça fait et décision sont un petit genre difficile des fois pour qu'on ait côté pour mener machine arrangée. Ça fait toujours bon pour un avocat qui a expérience qui comprend le système là et qui dans le système là longtemps tout qui prêt pour le porter que ça côté pour le porter le pouvoir et ou capable ensemble avec leur une question qu'a toujours elle poser la question leur envie à l'office pour elle face à face ou qu'a toujours elle yon nan bagay moun yo toujours satisfait parce que yo ouais wob available pour yo et yo dit c'est première fois yo ouais ça pour yo jeune un avocat qui est available pour moun yo comme ça.
When you're dealing with the insurance company, it's really it's not just things like your car, even things like your lost wages, your time out of work. Those are issues that can be resolved oftentimes or assisted with dealing with the insurance companies and things like that.
Yeah, c'est pas seulement pour machine nan parce que si vous perdez cob dans travail là tout à cause des accidents vous pas qu'à travail vous perdez l'argent so avocat take care avec tout bagage ça pour tout.
When we get involved in the case, there's always a lot of things that need to get done right away, investigations that need to get taken care of, notices that have to be taken care of, so everybody's on notice. We want to make sure we got everybody involved in the case, that everybody on notice that needs to be on notice that may have potential liability. There's a lot of issues that, particularly when your case first happens, that it's real important, in my opinion, to get somebody on board as quickly as possible.
Yeah, c'est parce que gen investigation qui pour fait gen assurance tout des assurances pour avocat mettre fait connaître c'est les représenter mon yo. Grand pile bagay qui pour fait les que ça fait commencer. N'a dit mon yo pas hésiter rele 866 945 47 68.
Zami, frère Sam, gardez, si vous faites accident, assurez-vous qu'on choisit un avocat qui a des années d'expérience. Un avocat qui a un bon résultat. Mais, pas comprendre que le résultat, l'autre monde joue, c'est le même résultat ou joue. Il pas comme ça. Eh bien, rele injury la groupe, dans 866 945 47 68. Équipe ça, belle équipe ça, équipe injury la groupe là, il y a des années, depuis la bête des gens qui ont injury. Moun qui fait accident, avec un pile cas assurance. Nous aidons les gens à faire des millions de dollars. Des millions de dollars, oui, clients nous fait. Nous avons plus que 35 ans d'expérience. Tendez ça, nous ne pouvons pas charger $1 si vous n'avez pas de caisse là. Relez nous aujourd'hui pour consultation gratis. Dans 866 945 47 68. Ou faire accident machine, ou frapper dans le travail, ou t'as le docteur ou bien l'hôpital, vous pas faire travail bien, vous te fait mauvais pratique, ou glisser, ou tomber, ou gros blessure, ou prendre une grosse catastrophe, ou que famille, amis, le docteur, il mauvais remède, qui cause de mourir parce que vous avez mauvais soin. Vous faire discrimination contre nous, nous avons tout problème ça. C'est juste que nous dans 866 945 47 68. Bon, dis pas tracasser tout, puisque nous parlons plusieurs langues. Nous parlons espagnol, nous parlons créole. Un jour, le groupe, office principal, nous dans Boca Raton, dans Florida. Regardez, depuis après l'avocat, nous voulons laisser nous rele.
Yes, Rob. Nous tournons encore et nous retournons ensemble avec mon yo konen bagan pile temps. Nous pas tellement arrêter. Rob, I have a question. I got somebody ask me, send me a question to you. So basically, when somebody get involved in an accident and there's several people in the car, so what the best thing they have to do? So when they call the police, when the police came, so they have to make sure, or what they have to do for the cop to make sure everything listed on the police report.
That's a great question. You know, it's really important. I'm glad you asked this because it's really important.
Especially the drivers. Sometimes the driver in shock, they don't know exactly what to do.
Exactly. You know, the most important thing when it comes to the passengers, make sure that everybody is listed on the police report and where they are in the car. So the one thing you want to make sure of is that you've told the police officer, given the police officer the information for everybody that's in the car. And that's real important for a lot of reasons. But I think that's, before we get to that, let's go ahead and pass that out there so let's make sure people understand. If you've been in an accident, when the police come, make sure the officer is aware of everybody that was in your car. If no one's in the car, then tell them no one was in the car. If someone was in the car, you need to make sure, hey, this person was in the car. Where were they sitting? They were sitting right next to me. They were sitting behind me, wherever it was.
Okay.
So that the information is clear to the police officer and he can include everybody on the police report.
Okay. So basically, si on a fait un accident, make sure la police la vient pour dire tout le monde qui était dans la machine, make sure police la mette dans la police report là, et pour dire mais qui tel monde, mais qui côté le chita, tel monde, mais qui côté le chita, ça vraiment important.
A lot of people, you know, the insurance companies particularly, if they don't see it on the police report, to them it's as if it's not there. It never happened. And the police report is not always accurate. But you want to make it as accurate as it can be. You want to help and do your part to make sure that, at least as far as the people that were involved in the accident, there's no mistake. They're listed on the report. You don't want to be accused of committing fraud or anything like that. So you want to make sure that if they were in the accident, they're listed on the report. You're giving it to the police officer.
Yeah. So depuis où mon yote dans machine là, make sure les police là mettent dans machine là parce que assurance au cas penser c'est fraude n'a fait. C'est pas de monde qui était dans nous pas mettre exactement combien de monde qui était dans la machine là. So quelle que soit la situation, mettez monde qui était dans la machine à faire police là connaît tout le monde qui était dans la machine là. Sometimes they say no, my cousin was with me, he just got here, he has no paper yet, he has his immigration status, they don't want to mess up his immigration with the accident. Do that have anything to do with that?
You know, I'm real glad you asked because it goes right in hand. And the important thing is to know this. Your immigration status means nothing when it comes to whether you've been injured or not. If you've been injured, you have rights regardless of your immigration status. So don't let your immigration status stop you from being listed on the police report. If you're not listed on the police report, you're going to have a very hard time recovering for your injuries. Especially, you know, if you were there and you were really seriously hurt, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
So the good news is your immigration status does not have any bearing whatsoever on whether you have rights. So make sure you're listed on the police report.
Yeah. So même là t'as un problème immigration, ça pas empêché pour pas faire police ça mettre dans immigration dans police report là parce que immigration status ou pas gain problème pas gain pièce rapport avec droit gain so basically de pour dans pays là ou gain droit même avec tout le monde pas hésiter faire pas courir sortir dans machine sometimes people left the scene before the cop came they just left the scene.
We've seen that, and a lot of times it has to do with their immigration status. And the great news now, and you know, obviously we just expanded to a division that includes immigration. We just added the immigration division. If you have a question about immigration, their rights today are far better than they ever were in many years past. So by all means, if you have an immigration question, you're not sure whether your status or you want some help with your status to make sure you have the right to be here, give us a call at our office. 866 945 47 68. Let our immigration department help you.
Yeah, c'est tout qu'on y a nos gains immigration department. So fait quitter quel que soit problème immigration t'as gain pas besoin hésiter parce que nos gains monde là qui pour aider pour faire tout à fait immigration qu'on y a. So and what about if they left the scene, they're not listed on the police report? What can you do to help them out?
That's a good question. It doesn't mean there's nothing we can do. Now we've got to do some investigation. Now we're going to have to prove someone was in the accident another way. Sometimes it's by getting affidavits of people that were in the accident. Sometimes it's by obtaining video or other surveillance or video like, you know, dash cams or things like that. There's lots of things we can do, but it's going to be very fact specific. So if this happened to you, give us a call at our office and let us see what we can do to help you. Call us at 866 945 47 68.
Okay. So basically, même les non pas dans police report là, et c'est avocat vient bien plus travail pour le faire, mais ça va veut dire pas aider ou. Si jamais on est dans une situation comme ça, relais nous dans 866 945 47 68.
You know, so many of the questions that happen that people ask us about really have to do with things that we can resolve oftentimes by being creative in investigation. You know, we have to prove things. That's our job, is to be able to prove things at trial. That's the bottom line is, are you going to be able to prove what it is you're saying? So our job is to make sure we're able to do that. And we do that by investigating. We do that by obtaining the things that we do, our investigative tools and techniques that we use to make sure that we're able to prove that you were involved in the accident, that you were injured in the accident, what the extent of your injuries are, whatever it might be. So, you know, these are things that happen, and that's why oftentimes it's so important to get an attorney involved as quickly as possible. That's always my suggestion.
Yes, ça fait toujours suggérer mon yo, quelle que soit la situation, on fait un avocat involved plus vite que possible dans ce cas. I have one more question for you. Here's what happened. Sometimes you get involved in an accident. So basically, when the cop can say, "Okay, I don't see anybody at fault. I'm not gonna write any report." Is it a good idea?
Well, it's not a question of whether it's a good question. It's not that it's not a good idea. You don't have any say in it. You know, you've told the officer what happened. And more often than not, when it comes to auto accidents or motor vehicle accidents, there's always going to be two different versions of what happened. Not always, but usually there's two different versions. One person says it happened this way, another person says it happened this way. To me, it's not necessarily that someone's lying. It's a matter of perspective. From my perspective, I saw a green light. They're going to say, hey, I had the green, whatever it might be. But the idea is once that happens, particularly if it's disputed, what's called disputed liability. Liability is at issue. It's a dispute. When there's a dispute as to liability, that's when it's even more important for us to do the investigation so we can lock down whatever evidence there might be that helps show you're right, they're not right. So we can prove that. And that happens really on a case-by-case basis with the investigations that we do.
So basically, what if the cop say, I'm not, can you tell the cop at least you need a report?
The report you're entitled to for a determination that you're not at fault. No, that's something that's going to be up to the police officer. And I've even seen situations where it's clear liability and they don't give a ticket. And then sometimes they give tickets to more than one person. So, you know, a lot of it is very dependent upon who it is that's doing the investigation, what their technique is. But the bottom line is whatever the police report says, that's not necessarily the end result. Oftentimes we've been able to prove that when the police officer said it was the one person's fault, we're able to prove oftentimes that it was somebody else's fault. It just depends on the facts. It depends on what our investigation is able to reveal.
In case they just give them the driver exchange, no police report. So if a client come to you like that, what in that situation,
you're always entitled to a police report. So as long as there's, as long as there has been a collision, they're entitled to the police report. So we can help them get that. Even if it's a short form report, we can help them get that.
Okay.
You might want to translate that. Yeah.
Ça vraiment important. Même les ça t'arrive police ça t'a banon. Premier bagage police t'a banon le driver exchange. C'est information monde qui frappe l'autre monde avec information pour nous échanger information ça yo. Mais des fois police on écrit report, des fois on pas écrit report, des fois on bail mon ticket, des fois on va bail mon ticket. Si jamais on pas gain report, nous gain moyen mais avocat là il dit gain moyen pour le jeune pour le prendre report là. That's very interesting because that happen a lot.
Yeah, the bottom line is this: when you're hiring an attorney, you're hiring them for the end result that they're going to get for you, that you're hoping they're going to get for you. That's why you're hiring an attorney. You've been injured. You want to make sure you're well compensated, properly compensated for your injuries. And in order to do that, we have to do our job. And our job involves a lot of investigation. It involves negotiation. It involves some things that we have to do. And the earlier you get us involved, the easier it is for us to do our job and help you get the evidence that you need to get the result you're looking for.
Okay. So basically, when you get involved in an accident, what's the best way to document this in?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I always say the best way to document a scene is by taking pictures.
Okay.
Always, let's take pictures of the damage, take pictures of where the cars ended up, take pictures of any property damage that happened, like if it hit a sign, or take pictures of where the stop sign was. If somebody ran a stop sign, take a picture showing where the stop sign was that they were supposed to stop at. Things like that. Anything you can do to document the scene of the accident, the damages, the people involved, any witnesses, if you can get license plates, if you can get pictures of their IDs, whatever it might be. The more information you have that you've preserved, the easier our job is to prove what happened.
Yeah, so basically take picture of everything.
Right.
Even on the other part.
Absolutely. Whatever you're able to do. And again, it depends on how badly you're hurt, whether you're able to maneuver and things like that, and whether it's safe. The number one thing is to stay safe. When you get out of the car, make sure you're safe to get out of the car. I remember we talked about this once before. I have, in fact, on our website, we have a list of what to do if you've been in an accident. If you want, go to our website, yourinjurylawgroup.com, avocapaula.com, and on that website, there is an FAQ, frequently asked questions about what to do if you've been in an accident, and there is a list of things that I think that I always recommend people to do if they've been in an accident.
And then the best thing, I think we're gonna bring your copy here, and then one day we go over that list with
absolutely,
some people.
Absolutely, be happy to do that.
Yeah, people may not.
They may not be familiar.
Yeah, familiar with the website, and then we can come here with the list, and then we go over the list to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. But in the meantime, if people want to know what to do, that's a good resource. We talk about resources when we're talking about things like this, things that you have available to you. And the reality is this: look, most people, if you've not been in an accident, there's a likelihood you will be, and we're hoping we're not ever in an accident. But if you are, then you need to know what to do. Obviously, we want you to call an attorney, call us as quickly as possible. But before that, there are things you can do, and you've hit the nail right on the head. What can I do to preserve my evidence? And the best thing you can do is take pictures if you're able.
Yeah.
And get names of witnesses. If there's any dash cam footage, if you see any cameras around, let your attorney know as quickly as possible so we can contact the business or facility that has the camera, and we can try to obtain the footage so we can show what the accident looked like, what really happened.
I have another question, but we run out of time, so I'm going to save it for next time.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it anyway. Is it a good idea, Rob, when you get involved in an accident with another person and they say, oh, don't worry, you don't need to call the cab, so we're going to take care of that?
If there's no police report, you have a very little chance of being able to prove up your claim the way you would if there was.
Okay.
There's a huge difference between having a police report and not. And in fact, if you've been in an accident, I always recommend get a police report.
So
always recommend that.
Nobody mon yon pile information. There's a lot of information, but we run out of time. So we're gonna leave some information for next time.
Absolutely.
So n'a dit moun yo et n'a remercier tout le monde, n'a dit tout le monde bonsoir, n'a pour l'autre